Thank you so much for being here with us, Anthony.
Thank you, Andy. It's such a pleasure to be communicating in this way and getting some more wonderful information out to people who will benefit from it.
I agree. So let's do that. What would you say, based on your history, based on the work that you do, what is the number one thing a person must do in order to have a healthy relationship with someone?
I like the question a lot because it comes up a lot in my coaching, in the sense where, my men's coaching, that men come to me, they're very unhappy with their life and they're really looking for something else. They might be successful as businessmen. They might have a great relationship with their spouse, and even have a great relationship with their kids, but they feel like there's this one thing missing. And really that one thing missing is that they have been, for the most part, putting a lot of their happiness in the hands of other people, and that they're not really taking that happiness, that ownership for themselves. And it's not to say that people don't bring happiness into your life, right? It doesn't mean that their spouse doesn't do things that bring happiness in their life, but not the source of their happiness. And that's where when people are wanting to have that special relationship with somebody, and it's about being in the right place, as you look for that, as you want that in your life, where it's not coming from a state of need. It's where you are happy and satisfied with your life. And we're social beings, right? We no matter what situation we're in, we're going to want that connection, right? But when you're really wanting a long-lasting relationship, a fulfilling relationship, is that you want to come from it from a point where you are happy and satisfied with your life. Doesn't mean you have to have everything perfect, but it is where you can add to somebody's life, right? Mm-hmm. So not to be somebody's life, and and in addition to that, is no one should ever have that amount of responsibility to make you happy, right? To do things that are constantly on this path, or this idea that what someone else can do or will do will ultimately be that great happiness that you have in your life. And as I mentioned before, and I like to just repeat this, because sometimes people could take it in the wrong way, but it doesn't mean that your spouse or someone special doesn't bring happiness into your life. Your kids bring happiness in their life. But, with kids, they're going to grow up and have a life, right? Your spouse, of course, you need some time apart. So there's great to have other things that you enjoy. But to say it's like the source, that's where a lot of relationships really tend to crumble, because, hey, if you're not doing something to make me happy, well, I'm gonna go, find something else to do that. So that's one of the things that's really important.
Yeah, I love all of what you just said, and it's absolutely so true. It's not that we don't need connection with people, but we do need to source our own self-love, right? No one else can self-love us. We have to self-love ourselves, and yeah. So, like, for people watching right now who this might be a challenge for them. This might be, obviously, if they're watching something about codependency, they're like, man, I don't know how to even begin starting to source that happiness within me, as opposed to wanting to get it from my relationships. So any, I guess, starting points of where they would apply things in their life to start doing that?
Yeah. Just a little background for me, when 2 months before coming back home, unfortunately, from my deployment, I was married at the time, and my then wife sent me an email telling me she wants a divorce upon my return home. So I'm in the middle of Baghdad, and I can't catch the next plane home. I can't express any emotion. I have soldiers who I'm responsible for. I have a very stressful and important job to do. So I had to keep all that down. Right. So coming back home and dealing with, eventually getting diagnosed with PTSD, and then coming back home to an empty house too. Right. So I'm having to really redefine my life in so many different ways. One of the hardest things for war veterans to come home to is the fact that, you know, when you're over there, you have a mission, you have a purpose. And whether you believed in, I mean, it was incredible to discover things about myself, about people that are in those certain situations, and discover things about themselves. So coming back home and figuring out what's the next step. So not only did I have to come back and really figure out what was my purpose now, because I had such a strong purpose there in Iraq and in that mission. My job was to protect generals, government officials, anybody who was really anybody during that time. We provided security for. And so you felt like a good sense of pride that I was serving my country, but also doing a very important job. So then also coming back home and realizing, well, what's my next step? Now I'm divorced. Now I have to figure out what my next step is. And so that's really so that leads me into those difficult situations really provide an opportunity to self-assess, and really you get to determine what your purpose is. And even though there's nothing, I think, in that I have purpose, and my purpose is to help people. And in the capacity that I'm doing it right now is through coaching. But that could be from different avenues, right? So for people who are in that situation, who are like, it's an opportunity for you to know that you have self-worth, right? That you have gifts, talents, and abilities. And it comes to the point where to accept those talents, those gifts and abilities. And really, if somebody's like questioning, like, well, what are those things? You could do one or two things. You can ask people to give an honest assessment and ask, hey, so what have you seen about me that I do that I do well, or that some of the things that you've seen me and that I've done in my life, and then you can and then you'll get some feedback from that, right? I've had so many people tell me about my voice, and about, just being on camera, and these different things. And I've had TV people tell you it's just, but, and just this avenue of wanting to help people, right? So I use what I have to help people through my coaching and through my podcast and those sorts of things. But then you can also look at your life and think of the things that you have accomplished in your life, and the things that you know that you do well. And to accept that. I think for myself, it took me so many years to accept that I do have something to give, where so many of us, we battle within our minds, and we don't take action because those thoughts overwhelm us and develop and bring up fear, that we never take action. And so if somebody's like thinking, those are two things that they can do, is really do a self-assessment on the things that they enjoy doing, and things that people compliment them on doing, and finding how they can utilize that in a way that brings them back to joy. I could think of all the things I had done before coaching, and none of them gave me any sort of fulfillment. And then accepting, like, hey, I do have gifts, talents, and abilities, and I can help people. And it's been because of that now I'm living an incredible life. And so it leads to being happy and fulfilled at the same time.